Let's get real. Sometimes Christmas, well, it just doesn't feel merry.
I think about my mom and dad working 12-hour shifts, grinding to get food on the table. And then the added pressure of the expectancy around gifts and around making it special. And it's only now as a father do I realise how much that cost them.
Welcome to CIA Contagious Influencers of America. I'm David Sams, and you're ready for some holiday cheer. I just know you are. Ho, 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 we've got the man right here for you. And I'm talking about Darren Mulligan, frontman of We Are Messengers. He and his group, they have something like 11 back-to-back top 10 hits on the charts, including the powerhouse Come What May and the gold certified Maybe It's Okay. And he's here to share some holiday vibe. And trust me, his Irish charm and heartfelt words are exactly what you need during this holiday season. Now, he's going to be co-hosting our Keep the Faith Christmas Marathon and Countdown to Christmas Marathon. You're going to want to hear that on Christian stations all across America. And if you love Christmas carols with a twist, you're in for a real treat. We Are Messengers has just released Hark, the Herald Angels Sing, with an amazing Celtic spin. It's part of their brand new music collection, Rejoice, A Celtic Christmas. So now make sure your local Christian radio station is on your holiday playlist. But first, let's dive into this fun and soulful conversation with Darren Mulligan of We Are Messengers. Darren, welcome to the homestead.
Oh, thank you for having me. Lovely home, lovely family, lovely dog. Didn't meet your cat because I'm afraid of cats, but lovely to be here.
So this is going to be a really special time for you this Christmas season, and something very unique. And I know you poured your heart and soul into it. So tell me about this project.
Yeah, it's a labour of love. You know, I'm an Irishman, born and bred through and through. I live in the hills of Tyrone, off-grid, on a diesel generator and solar panels. And we live in a 200-year-old little cottage. And so where I'm from, traditional Irish music has been a part of the fabric of our culture for as long as I can remember. Now, growing up, I didn't get to play trad. It's a regret of mine. So I've always wanted to do a project like that. So Christmas being this incredible time of year where communities gather together in Ireland and across the diaspora and across the world was the perfect time to go and do a Celtic Christmas record that would demonstrate the goodness of God through all of these songs that have been sang for centuries. So we've gone and reimagined old classic songs like O Come Emmanuel, In the Bleak Midwinter, and we've given them this traditional Irish twist. And I brought in 7 of the best trad musicians in the world. Like, these guys and girls are astoundingly talented. And we created something really organic and live and beautiful. And my hope is to point people towards Jesus.
Well, Christmas is near and dear to you. Tell me about what it was like growing up. What was Christmas like in your home?
Yeah, I was thinking about that last night, Dave, as I was in the hotel. And sometimes you have a tendency as a Christian artist to make everything glossy and nice and shiny and palatable. My memories of Christmas are wonderful in that I was with the people I love the most. And I have an incredible family, absolutely amazing. But when I think of it now as being a daddy of my own 4 kids and the pressure and the strain and the stress that is on that, even in these days, I think about my mom and dad working 12-hour shifts, grinding to get food on the table. And then the added pressure of the expectancy around gifts and around making it special. And it's only now as a father do I realise how much that cost them. You know, we weren't a wealthy family. You know, we're hard-working blue collar. We still are, you know. Mm-hmm. And so for me, looking back now, I really appreciate what my mom and dad did. My very first guitar, this is interesting. I've never shared this actually. When you think about Christmas, what I think about is my first guitar. It was it was a red and white Stratocaster type guitar called a Jim Deacon. So it was like a knockoff version of a Strat, you know. And my daddy sold his very first guitar when he had my older brother because they couldn't afford food. And he's never played guitar since. But the first opportunity they had to buy a guitar, my dad didn't buy it for himself. He bought one for me on Christmas Day when I was 13 years old. And that guitar may as well have been buying like a massive corporation for us. And it changed my world. And the beautiful thing about that Christmas story is that just 3 months ago, I got to stand in our home church in Monaghan where I came to faith, where my wife, led me to faith, where my older sister came to faith, where my little brother came to faith. And we got to baptize my mother and father at 76 years old. My favorite Christmas memory now is remembering what my mom and dad paid to love us, and that somehow that little guitar they bought me played a tiny little part in them coming to salvation. Jesus is no fool. He's got the master plan. Christmas is wonderful because of the birth of Jesus. But for me, in a very earthly way, it's wonderful because it was the start of my walk to Jesus, and then seeing my mom and dad come is full circle.
This is quite a unique experience, a unique project for the CCM world, and it seems like it should have been done years ago. What do you think the timing is right now?
I think, if I'm being blunt and honest, I think the band has had a really good run, and we've been successful enough to allow us to do passion projects. Sometimes you're afraid to do it. You're afraid to take off the guardrails and let loose and cut loose. And I'm a wild enough man, so it's been a strange thing for me to restrain myself. But I have a great support from our label and our team. I think the time is right because I guess my superpower all along has been that I'm an Irishman. And it has allowed me to say things and approach difficult topics, maybe in a way that, an American man couldn't here in America. And these songs have such poignant messages. There's a song on here called the Wexford Carol, Dave, that was written in the 16th century, And these songs have carried faith throughout the world. And I think it's my job to America has been to be an evangelist. And I think this is the perfect tool to help me share the gospel, maybe with people who were tired or worn out and burned out in religion. Maybe they're tired and worn out and burned out of CCM. Maybe it's Christmas time and they want to rock up with their family to something that's fun, full of laughter, full of joy, but also full of this deep sense of hope and purpose in Jesus. It's another way to share the message that has never been done by a CCM artist. And I'm really thrilled to do it. Do Dave, you've been around enough artists. Artists sometimes would say, I'm excited to do something, and really deep down inside, they're loathing their entire existence.
I know a few.
Yeah. This is not that. This is joy upon joy upon joy.
So tell me about your family.
Mate, I am married to an extraordinary woman called Heidi. She led me to Jesus when I was 27. In turn, she led my little brother to Jesus. And that story I shared about my mother and father all comes because of the love of a very good woman. And interestingly enough, the doctors, when we were young, we had a very messy relationship. We dated for 10 years, pretty chaotic.
Like what do you mean?
Well, we didn't know Jesus, right? So we lived like every other young man and woman who doesn't know Jesus and who has no moral compass lives. Made a lot of mistakes, very turbulent. My girlfriend at the time, Heidi, was wrestling with a disorder called anorexia nervosa, an eating disorder. And she speaks about this openly. I wouldn't share anything that's in confidence. And the doctors actually at the time had told her, you've done so much damage to your body, it will be unlikely you will ever have children, And I remember when my girlfriend came to Jesus, it was traumatic for me because she had this hope and joy and purpose that I didn't have. And I was so mad, dude. I was like, what is this thing? Because misery loves company, but I had lost my friend, And when I came to Jesus, it was just an extraordinary change in our lives. And within a year, we had our first child. He's now a big boy. He's a 15-year-old man. His name is Elijah. He walks with Jesus. He is strong and unashamed of the gospel. He is a better man than I am in many ways. And then we had 3 more. We had 2 more wee boys and a wee lassie. So I'm a proud daddy of 4 children who all walk with Jesus, who all love the Lord. And my wife has sacrificed so much for me to do this, Dave. She has given more than anyone will ever know. And I've given quite a bit too. There were only so many birthdays and daddy-daughter dances and anniversaries that you can miss before it becomes painful. But in these years, God is restoring everything that we've given away.
So how would you grade yourself as a husband and as a father?
Out of 10, are we doing a score sheet, are we? I would say early on, I was a better husband. No, I was a better daddy than I was a husband. And I think now I'm a better husband than I am a dad. I think I do a good job at both. I don't say good things about myself very often, so that's the best I'm going to give me. A good enough job, right? I think I have learned the correct order of things, which is God, my wife, then my kids. I'll tell my kids pretty open. I'm like, hey, I love yous, but you're always going to be second to your mom. She's my priority. She's the love of my life, and I will love her well. And it's an awkward conversation because especially in America, people make idols out of the family unit. We are called to love our wives as Christ loved the church. Mm-hmm. And everything else is secondary. That doesn't mean there's less love to give. I think if you love your wife well, you have more love to give your children. I go back to music. So often we say songs are holy because we say enough Jesuses in them, or songs are holy because there's enough metaphors describing Jesus as a garden plant, right? For me, a love song is just as holy as a congregational hymn. What is holier? For a man to describe Jesus in metaphors or to love his wife? Mm. What is holier? To talk about feeding the poor or put food on their table? And as a dad, the holiest thing I've done in many years is put food on my kids' table, keep them sheltered, warm and safe from the enemy. And that's what I intend to keep doing.
Let's talk about those songs, and let's talk first of all, let's talk about your core beliefs and really what inspires you to do what you do.
I am driven by a deep sense of the mercy of God in my life. Dude, I was brushing my teeth this morning in the hotel, and it's really weird when you're trying to pray and brush your teeth at the same time. And all I could say was, may the mercy of Jesus be with me. Do you know? Mm-hmm. I think it's because I'm deeply aware of my sinful nature. I'm deeply aware of how far I can go and how much damage I can do when I'm abandoned. And so I have a deep sense of the kindness of God in my life. I have a deep sense of the joy of the Lord in my life. And all of those things have come through living a very messy, broken life. And if I'm honest, it's only been the last 3 or 4 years of this walk with Jesus, which has gone on 16, 17 years now, where I have found true joy. Not that goofy happiness. I'm not talking Hallmark Channel happiness. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the kind of joy that in the dead of night when the monsters come is steady and steadfast. And it drives me to share that, especially with the broken and the marginalized and the lost and the hurting, because they're my people and they're Jesus people too.
Taking that into consideration, what song best fits that? What song best fits all of that?
On the Christmas record?
No,
in general?
In general.
Mate, I think there's 3 songs that kind of define what the band is really about. And some of them are deep cuts, right? Well, when I first came to Nashville, which is 10 years ago this month, dude, that's so strange.
It was a different city then.
Different city, wasn't it? I wrote a song in a studio one day and I sang it top to bottom. There was no recuts. It was a song called I Don't Have the Answers. And I Don't Have the Answers was a love song written for my wife. And it just said, I don't have the answers. And baby, that's okay. Right? And then 5 or 6 years after that, I was wrestling with depression and anxiety, and people I loved were too. And I was tired of this stigma that the church seemed to have created, that you weren't good enough, you weren't holy enough, you weren't righteous enough if you struggled with depression. And I don't see that anywhere in the scriptures. I only see blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, right? So I wrote a song called Maybe It's Okay. And I'm telling on myself, I shouldn't tell you this, but when I wrote that song, which is a gold record, which is awesome, but when I wrote that song, it wasn't supposed to be for everybody. It was originally called Baby It's Okay. I wrote that for my wife and I. It's okay if we're not okay. The one who holds the world is holding on to us. And we changed it because we realized it could reach the world. And it did that. It just went everywhere. And now you'll be walking past bus shelters and you'll say it's okay to not be okay written on it. And I like to think I was saying that long before that was cool to say that, because I was broken. And then on the new album, the Where the Joy Is record, my favorite song on the whole album, and it will, possibly never be a radio single. It's called Worthy of Being Loved. And it's a song I wrote in my house in Ireland about 2 years ago. Pulled the guitar down off the wall. And I wrote a song for someone I loved who was wrestling with suicide. And it's my favourite song in the world. Just reminds people that I would miss them very much if they were gone. And they're worthy of being loved, not because of their goodness, but because of the love of Jesus for them. So yeah, I think the most, the thread that joins all of our songs together is this idea that humans are flawed and broken and wearisome and tired and hurting. And that Jesus does not abandon us in that. Instead, he's a great comforter. He's very merciful. He's near to the brokenhearted. And so we point to Jesus by writing songs for humans who have nowhere else to turn. And honestly, if we didn't live in such, a perfect little version of Westerndom, we would all realize we have nowhere else to turn. The most dangerous thing that's ever happened to me has become unsuccessful, because you begin to believe you're inoculated against suffering and sadness and pain, and that the avoidance of suffering is the great thing to achieve. That's not seen in the gospel. Suffering is a beautiful thing if you let Jesus suffer with you in it. So as a band, that's what we do. We write big old anthems and bangers and sad songs for messy, broken people to remind them that they're very much loved in Jesus.
You brought up depression a couple of times, and you brought up mental health related issues a couple of times. When you've been faced with that personally, when you've been faced in that dark place, in that dark space, how have you dealt with it?
Yeah, sometimes really poorly. Sometimes I've ran to cycles of sin and shame. Sometimes I've tried to sabotage my career, my life. Sometimes I've just wanted out. Sometimes I've woke up in the morning, struggled to get out of bed. Sometimes I haven't wanted to wake up in the morning. And thankfully, again, the mercy of God draws near. And at each point in that journey, somehow he gave me just what I needed to put one foot in front of the next and keep her going. And I think the cool thing, Dave, is that I used to go to church and I would look at people in church on Sunday morning, the really exuberant worshippers, and you kind of look at them sometimes and you go, what on earth is happening here? This can't be for me. Right. I can't have that kind of joy. Right. But as sure as the sun has rose every morning of my life, one morning about 3 or 4 years ago, I woke up and that black dog, that monster, was gone. And I'm convinced that Jesus took my depression out back and did away with it. Because my mourning's been replaced, my sorrow's been replaced with laughter and joy and peace. And I know as I say this, I'm saying it with an intensity, but you're asking me questions that people don't normally ask. We've confused joyfulness with an outward expression, smiles and laughter, and those things are part of it. They're definitely a part of it. And I laugh more than most men you'll ever meet. But when I think about these issues, these are too heavy to brush over. We've got a whole generation of people dying from loneliness.
Very much so, yes.
Too soon. And for me in this band, we're going to continue to speak up for them. We're going to continue to tell the truth. Even when we think that our sin disqualifies us from sharing the gospel, we're going to continue to share the truth. My goodness didn't get me to Jesus, and my sin cannot disqualify me from him. If we're waiting to be good men before we share the gospel will never be shared. So share it we will.
I tell people every day I fall off a pedestal every day. Don't put me on a pedestal.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
I get what you're talking about. Let's talk about overcoming life's challenges. How do you find the strength to rise above adversity?
Brilliant question. I think the tendency again in America, in the Christian music industry, you tend to try and rise above adversity by using your talents and the grind and your ability and your hustle and your wits and all of those things. And they may temporarily get you above some of the adversity. You may feel little moments of elation and success, but they're very fleeting and very temporary. Last 3 or 4 years, I have risen above adversity in my life through the dedicated reading of the scriptures, rhythms of prayer, of talking with Jesus, and saying sorry to the people I've hurt and asking for forgiveness. I think those are some of the great tenets of our faith that we misuse. There's a powerful thing to say I'm sorry, and there's a powerful thing to be forgiven. And so if you're looking for a way out of the mess you're in, it's only found through walking in the unforced rhythms of grace, as we see in Matthew 11:28-30. Jesus says, "Come follow me. Learn to walk in the unforced rhythms of my grace, and you will find rest for your weary soul." That's real winning. That's real overcoming adversity. We've got very strange views of what overcoming adversity looks like here. Mine's a gospel-centered one.
So you mentioned rhythms of prayer. What do you mean?
So like being meticulous in, like I go to the gym, I go to the Bible. When I wake in the morning, I go to the scriptures. Before I sleep at night, I go to the scriptures. And in the day, when the enemy comes, I rebuke him with the scriptures. And prayer for me has become a thing where, like I said earlier, it's just like a habit. So I'm talking to him in between the mundane, ordinary things. And make no mistake about it, Jesus is interested in the mundane, ordinary relationship with us. He's not looking for the Star-Spangled Banner every 15 minutes, He just wants fellowship, much like you do with your wife. You want to talk and commune and laugh and know each other. That's the way with Jesus.
Second chances. Obviously, you believe in second chances. So let's, there's somebody listening right now who's just maybe they're on their 12th or 15th chance. But is it ever too late to start again?
Oh no, it's never. Don't believe that lie. It's a long drift from Jesus, right? But it is a really short walk home. That's what repentance is. It's turning around and moving back into the grace and mercy of Jesus, which is already enveloping us as believers anyway. Dave, you know how many times I have asked for forgiveness in my life? It's daily. You talked about rhythms a second ago. I have daily rhythms of repentance. Not just when I'm on the airplane and the turbulence hits, because I'm afraid of turbulence. I'll do a lot of repenting on Delta flights across the Atlantic. But no, you can repent, you can turn, and the mercy and grace of Jesus is instantly available to you. Jesus talks about how much should we forgive? 7 times 70. Perfect forgiveness. If he expects us to forgive perfectly, how sure can we be that he will forgive us perfectly? 7 times 70. It's perfect. It's there. It's always there. And you don't have to live in condemnation. There's no condemnation for those found in Jesus. That condemnation comes from yourself and comes from the pit of hell. They don't sin all the more, so their grace shall abound all the more. Ooh, I actually said that to myself this morning. Like, the apostle, why do I do what I shouldn't do, and what I know I should, I don't? You think Jesus doesn't know we're deeply flawed and messy? He gets it. The problem is we don't get him because we're biblically illiterate.
How do you find? I mean, you've got so much going on, and plus you're working. You obviously do a lot of flights across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
You're not like the normal Nashvilleian who maybe flies to Dallas or something. So, you've got a lot of responsibility. You've got a lot going on. How do you find balance?
Oh, dude, I probably didn't have any balance up until the last 2 years. It was mayhem. I probably said yes to way too many things, to the wrong things. You mean like this interview? No, dude. No. And you can cut this out if you want. This interview actually has been one of the most meaningful interviews I've done in a long, long time.
Oh, thank you.
I mean that. Okay. But for me, balance was given away when I monetized the gift that God had given me. Work is good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Work was good before the fall. When you monetize the calling of God in your life, it becomes a job too. Mm-hmm. And jobs are hard. You want to tell your local plumber it's easy for him to get up at 7 a.m. and work 12-hour shift. And a Christian musician, that's no different. We work hard. But sometimes you get greedy. Sometimes you get overly ambitious. Sometimes you get jealous. And you say yes to all kinds of things that steal your time from the things that you should be giving your time to. In the last year and a half, some of the guys are here from our team. We completely changed the way we tour. Christian artists tend to tour 35 weeks in a year, maybe a couple of days a week or whatever. It's very sporadic. It's heavy hitting. And we did that for a long time. The last 2 years, we changed it. We said we're only touring in these particular blocks. So we've gone from being gone 36 weeks a year to being gone 16 weeks a year. And that means that our production teams, our families, their families have time together. There are no divorces. There are no affairs. We've got our houses in order because we've put the right things first. And so balance has come in these last 2 years because I've said no to selfish ambition. I've said no to my ego. I have said no to chasing everything else. And the beautiful thing is, Dave, we just celebrated our second gold record in 12 months. God has a way of honoring people who make the best choices they can with him in mind.
Wonderful. Let's talk about I want to tap into what you just said. And when you're pursuing your dreams, how do you know, how do you differentiate? How do you determine whether it's your dream you're looking at or God's dream or God's calling on you?
That's really tricky. It's really tricky because I suppose it depends on your theology and your ideologies and what matters to Jesus, I don't think it's a problem being rich if you love Jesus. I don't think it's a problem being successful if you love Jesus, if he's supreme in your life. I think deep down we all know when we're lying to ourselves. We know when we're justifying things. We say, I got to take this tour because, the people need to hear the word. But deep down, you're doing it to keep up with the Joneses. So I think we have to be really careful that we love the things Jesus loves. And again, biblical literacy is so important. How will I know what he loves if I don't know what he loves? In the void of knowledge and discernment and understanding, we make up all kinds of things. We say, I think Jesus would. The minute we say, I think Jesus would, we have just revealed that we have no idea what Jesus would. Mm-hmm. Do you know? Mm-hmm. What is true religion? Taking care of widows and orphans. I also think for our band, it's been different. Over the last few years, we've really had this realization that we are not a worship team or a worship band. We're just not. We're a rock and roll band that sing songs for humans about the goodness of God. But we've also realized that we are entertainers and we have no shame in saying it. Entertainment is not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing. So when people come to our shows and we're charging them tickets to come to our shows to pay for our production and our teams and blah, 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 and to pay for a living, I'm really open with them. I'm saying, hey, if you're coming to this show, You're paying money for rock and roll. Jesus is free. You don't need to be here to have Jesus. I think you have to have a real view of yourself and what you're doing and quit playing the game. You know that Christian music industry thing where we pretend that everything is Jesus? Like somehow the gospel will fall apart if he doesn't have a CCM song? Do you know?
Yes, I do.
How ridiculous. Mm-hmm. What a great privilege to get to do it with him and with his people. And that's my joy. The audience is that treasure in the field that I have bought with missing daddy-daughter dances and birthdays and anniversaries. We've bought that field with that time. And we love them deeply. And they love us back. And I think that's a holy thing.
Well, my new friend, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing this time with me. And we appreciate everything you do and all the amazing work that you bring to our airwaves. And I wish you much success with this Christmas project.
Mate, absolute honor. Favorite interview of the year. Cheers.
And thanks again, Darren. Thanks for stopping by the homestead. Boy, we've had some great folks stop by the homestead this year for Christmas, and it's been so special. And I can't wait for you to hear the Keep the Faith Countdown to Christmas Marathon. We've got all the great artists, including, of course, Darren. We have also Luke and Joel Smallbone of For King and Country. We have Hannah Kerr. I mean, you name it. They've stopped by the homestead, and we've got the all-stars this year for the Keep the Faith Countdown to Christmas, airing Thanksgiving Day and Black Friday on stations all across America. And of course, we have the Keep the Faith Christmas Marathon, which airs on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And you're not going to want to miss that too. And by the way, if you don't get it on your local Christian radio station, please call them and say, please air Keep the Faith. That would be great. Not everybody airs it. I can't explain it. It is the number one show in our space in all of America. So if they don't air it on your local market, give them a call. And by the way, if they say, we're too busy or we don't have room for it, listen to it on KeepTheFaith.com. You can listen to it 24/7 on KeepTheFaith.com. And all you got to do is hit the play button on whatever video you want to watch. And we've got lots of great shows for you there. So that's just a little secret. And of course, we'll also have some of the Christmas programming, lots of Christmas programming at KeepTheFaith.com. So please check it out. And we really want to thank our friends at Curb Records for helping us make all of this possible and helping make encouragement contagious at Keep the Faith. And we really appreciate your support. Until next time, this has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of Keep the Faith. I'm David Sams. Go out there this week and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living it in black and white. See you next time.